new superhighways are known by various names depending on where you live. You might call them expressways, turnpikes, parkways, or throughways. In this motion picture, we will use a term popular in the West. This is a freeway. Only for cars, trucks, buses, and motorcycles. There are no traffic lights or stop signs. You are allowed to park only in an emergency. There are no streets to cross your path. The freeway has a divider strip in the center with several lanes for traffic in two directions. Separate ramps are used for entering and leaving the freeway. The point where two or more freeways cross is an interchange. It might have 4 levels, but most are 1-level separations. As you will see, interchange traffic requires special driving procedures. These new superhighways present many problems for the motorist. Automobiles are moving at high speeds. Often the traffic is very heavy. Thousands of cars use the freeways every day. Any vehicle can make a sudden, dangerous move at any time. Motorists must learn to think and plan ahead. Superhighway can be very confusing. Plan your entire... Never drive your car on any superhighway when the vehicle has worn-out tires, bad brakes, or other mechanical problems. Dangers are multiplied at high speeds. Your car might stop running. You might have an accident. Be certain that your car is in top condition. Then you are ready to drive at a time. Don't try to jump across several in a single move. It is safer to drive with the prevailing speed on the highway. But if you must drive slower, stay in the right-hand lane. Don't block traffic. Allow at least 1 car length for every 10 miles on your speedometer. When you are moving at 60 miles an hour, it takes the distance of half a city block to stop. You're in danger if you assume the car you follow will maintain between your car and the one in front. You'll need that space if he meets an emergency or makes a mistake. You don't save time by riding on top of the next car. If the slower-moving car would stay in the right-hand lane, accident hazards like this one might be avoided. And now you're at the interchange. Curves and heavy traffic call for special precautions. Signs like this one indicate the lane you want to take. Look for these markers before you arrive at the interchange. If you need... Law enforcement officers have 3 warnings for every motorist, regardless of driving experience. Each of these warnings should be observed for better driving and to prevent accidents. First, never stop your car on the freeway, and never get out of your car in a lane of traffic. If your car has a flat tire, stalls, or develops other trouble, stay inside and bring it to the extreme right. Your life is worth more than a tire. Save yourself before you save your car. And exit your car on the right-hand side. Second, never drive if you are tired. If your eyes close for just a fraction of a second, you're in immediate danger. Park your car and rest. Third, keep your mind on your driving and not on other matters. Watch the vehicles in front of you on the freeway, and remember the cars behind you, too. Check your rear view mirror frequently. Look out for sudden stops, and be ready for any emergency. You'll meet many of them in your freeway driving. There safely. That's another reason for planning your route before you begin the trip. And you must maintain a much slower speed. Remember the freeway tips expert drivers practice all the time. The multi-million-dollar freeway systems help you travel rapidly and safely, usually. But try to avoid traffic jams like this. If you see a tie-up ahead or hear a radio bulletin, if possible, turn off and use an alternate street. Freeway driving calls for excellent drivers and excellent cars, each of them in the best condition. There are lots of rules and regulations to remember, that's true. You must discipline yourself to follow the proper procedures and form good driving habits. It isn't a snap to drive on the turnpikes, parkways, expressways, and freeways. and not every motorist can do it well. You pay for your mistakes one way or another. But there is no reason...
Lazy days, warm and free, pathways to climb, rivers to see. Magic's here for you and me as we travel the roads to romance.
A visit to Coral Gables, one of the world's most beautiful cities, may well feature a trip to the new campus of the University of Miami. Today, thronged by students from both Americas, the campus is an outstanding example of modern architecture. Freshwater swimming in the world-famous Venetian pools, fed by cool artesian wells, is open to all visitors in the area. From the mainland, a causeway stretches across sparkling Biscayne Bay to Cape Florida and to Crandon Beach. Certainly one of the most magnificent bathing beaches in the world. This park area, operated as a county playground, is shaded by thousands of graceful palms and was once part of America's largest coconut plantation. Fine roads and highways bring many sightseeing points of interest in the surrounding area within easy reach of the vacationist. Here is a case of giving the visitor the bird, a gaudy, colorful, and noisy costume. These macaws are completely free to fly about, with no cages, nets, or fences to restrain them. You and your family can enjoy the vacation thrills of this spot, and no matter where you live, you can reach it quickly, comfortably, and with utmost economy. Travel this year the roads to romance, to places you have always wanted to go. And when you travel, go in one of the quality motor cars your Chevrolet dealer has to offer. It will be your magic carpet that will carry you to the land of your heart's desire.
Mary had a little lamb. His fleece was white as snow. Well, nearly. And everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. towards the road. Now watch this girl. She's good.
Look left. Look right. Look left again.
You see? I knew she would. Now, what about the lamb? Big grown-up lambs don't cry. Now, what goes on? You wouldn't jump. You wouldn't, would you? Why? Oh, you little black sheep. Hey, wait a minute. Stop. A man who crosses roads like that will be a mutton chop. He'll never do it. Phew. He has. He's off and on his way. He's after food.
Now, traffic drill is what we'll learn today. How does a chicken cross the road?
You ought to know. You tried. Yes, you may squirm, my lamb. Own up. Go on. You know you must.
Oh, Ricky, did you cross the road? You did?
Now, only just. My, he's blushing red. Then Mary sees him feeling small and gently pats his head. Still, now it's over. Here they come. They all go home this way. Now, lamb, let's see how much you know of what you've learned today. Look left, look right, and wait for it. Look left again. Good show. Hear how the children cheer him, and safely home they go. The lamb has proved to one and all that he has learned his drill.
You will cross roads the safety way?
Oh, yes, I'm sure he will.
This picture, as you can see, was taken in a busy American city. This picture was taken at exactly the same time and at the same spot. Question: how was it done? A modern motion picture camera photographed the traffic in action, while the Daguerre camera, the great-great-granddaddy of all cameras, was used to photograph the buildings alone. The action of this camera is so slow that there isn't time for moving objects to register on the film. On the other hand, the buildings, being stationary, gradually formed a sharp, clear image. And why use the Daguerre camera? To show that any picture of America without automobiles is hopelessly out of date. Today, the automobile is part of any American scene. Every man, woman, and child in America could go riding at the same time. And if we wanted to, we could all ride in the front seat, because there is a car or a truck for every 3 persons, almost 50 million motor vehicles. How many are 50 million cars? Bumper to bumper, they would stretch around the earth at the equator 7 times. The distance we drive our cars and trucks every day would take us on 5 daily round trips to the sun. But the real importance of the motor car is in the way it has opened up new horizons in our way of living. And that brings up a very interesting fact about 1 out of every 7 American workers. Let's see what it is about that 1 worker out of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sir, what do you do for a living?
You've heard of tea testers, haven't you? Well, I'm a toot tester.
Yes, this man is a toot tester. He listens to automobile horns in a factory to be sure they are tuned to the proper musical tone. If anybody should ever ask you what the proper musical tone is, it's E flat combined with G. Let's try again. Pardon us, sir, but would you tell us what business you're in?
Why, certainly, I'm a farmer.
And what do you grow on your farm?
Well, you might say I grow automobiles because I own part of the 4 million acres of farmland used to grow raw materials for paints and lacquers and insulation used in motor cars.
And you, sir, it seems that you're a miner. What do you mine?
I mine automobiles. You see, it takes the miner to dig the iron and the coal and limestone for automotive steel. And then, of course, some of us dig the copper and lead and molybdenum and sulfur that go into automobiles.
You might get answers like that in any crowd, anywhere, from any one of over 9 million men and women who make their living directly because of automobile transportation. That's what we mean by 1 out of 7. Let's see how many it takes to make over 9 million people. We'll begin with the city of Los Angeles, which has become our 4th largest city. Suppose every family in Los Angeles should decide for some reason to move elsewhere. Then suppose into each house left vacant, there should move a family of a worker in the automobile industry, the 1 man out of 7. Actually, Los Angeles isn't nearly big enough to hold them all, nor, for that matter, is the whole state of California. You see, there'd be the steel workers, the men who make steel for the automobile, and their families. There'd be the families of glass workers who make automobile glass. We'd have to find homes for the families of all the workers who build tires, and batteries, and parts. And we'd have to make room for the 800,000 families of the men in the big motor car and truck assembly plants. Yes, it would be moving day for 1 out of every 7 families in the United States. And we'd have to include the moving van driver and his family, too. Because, you see, he is one of more than 5 million drivers who drive for a living. Trucks, buses, and taxis. And while you're about it, did you ever stop to think of how many people it takes to maintain our roads and highways? Well, quite a few. Because on the highway miles of America, we could drive to the moon and back more than 14 times. Well, does that account for 1 out of every 7 workers in America? Not quite. But it does when you add the men who sell motor cars and the men who service them. Moving the families of the 1 worker out of 7, gradually replacing family for family. We'd need all the houses in California, Oregon and Washington, Idaho, Utah and Arizona, Montana, Wyoming and Colorado, and part of Texas to find homes for the people who make their living directly because of the motor car. And this brings up an interesting question. What would these people be doing if the motor car had remained a luxury for a few rather than a necessity for so many? And what about all the people who depend indirectly on the motor car for the way they live? Looking at it this way, we can fill up all the homes from North Dakota to Texas and from Minnesota to Arkansas, all the way to the banks of the Mississippi with the families of the men who use motor cars or trucks in their business. The plumber, the painter, the florist, the meter man, the rural mail carrier, and of course, the more than 2 million salesmen on the road. Now, it seems that we've found out something else about the motor car and its effect on our living. 1 worker out of 7 either makes cars or parts, or sells or services them. And another 1 worker out of 7 uses the motor car to make his living. Pardon us, sir, but what do you do?
Why, I'm a traveling trimmer.
Yes, this man is a traveling trimmer who makes his living with his pruning saw and his truck. Yes, for that second man out of 7, there are all kinds of jobs that you might not even think of as being connected with the motor car. The traffic policeman, and the people who make and sell traffic lights and parking meters. But would you think of railroad engineers? You would if you knew that transporting raw materials and finished products to keep our American system of individual transportation by motor car rolling takes 4 million freight carloads per year. 1/6 of all retail business firms are connected with the automobile. Yes, even including little Jimmy's first business venture, the motor car makes business for America. And 1 out of every 5 retail sales dollars in America changes hands because the motor car made it possible. Yes, the motor car has been a key factor in all the ways we do business in America. But it has had even greater effect on the way we live and the pleasure we get out of living. Being able to drive out into the country has made many of us want to live in the country. And the motor car has made it possible for millions. Today, suburban construction is more than 3 times the construction in the city. And just as the motor car is a tool for working, with more than half of us using it to go to and from our daily work, so it is a tool for enjoyment. It puts America at our doorstep for business or pleasure. Whether you're traveling on business or pleasure, the chances are even that you'll travel by motor car. More than half of us take yearly vacations, and most of us take them on the highway. As a result, the tourist and resort industry ranks among the 3 most important industries in 16 states. We have seen how the Daguerre camera, a camera from the past, can take a picture of the past to show how our horizons have been expanded by the motor car. And the greatness of America has been that we are never content to stop at the horizon we can see. We know that there is another and another horizon beyond. The motor car industry, as it has recognized its responsibilities in our progress through yesterday to get where we are today, is already at work on the design of tomorrow, exploring, developing, testing to improve the cars we drive, to make them safer, more comfortable, more enjoyable. If we are to realize in full the motor car's vast potential for good, we must use it and care for it wisely. The motor car has been the key to open new horizons, not for the few, but for all. And all of us share in the responsibility of safeguarding the benefits it has brought. If we plan for the future, if we look ahead to clear all obstacles and roadblocks, if we recognize the importance of this great individual freedom of movement, the motor car will be the key to our ever-widening horizons of tomorrow.
Attention, please. Flight 631 for Salt Lake City, Denver, and New York is now boarding at gate number 7. Board Flight 631, please. Attention, please. Flight 549 from Miami and intermediate cities. Now
Down to Boston, over to El Paso, into Chicago, out to Portland, Oregon. 9.5 hours from coast to coast. 4.5 hours from Jackson, Mississippi to Detroit, Michigan. North, south, east, west. There are 27 scheduled airlines. There are almost 600 airline stops. Every major city, every state in the 48 touched on by the unseen high roads of the sky. The easiest method of travel yet devised by man. America travels the air about its business, casual and matter of fact. Businessmen in particular travel the airlines, buying, selling, developing, and organizing. The man with the briefcase, weaving the pattern of American business, carrying contracts and plans and specifications, breaking bottlenecks, meeting deadlines. The American businessman, transferring from airliner to air taxi, from one airplane to another, flying on to smaller towns, to plants and mines and mills, using the air taxi as the quickest and most efficient means of reaching his destination. Air taxis are convenient. Privately owned and operated, they are comfortable airplanes piloted by experienced and able men. There are more than 1,500 such operators licensed to carry people and property. Air transportation is their business. Ground transportation is also being provided for by many airport operators. Transportation after arrival has been a major problem. No one has realized this more clearly than the men who manage the airports. They're finding ways to meet the problem. One answer is the airport courtesy car. These cars are owned and maintained by the airport. They are furnished at a low charge and as a customer service to out-of-town people. Business flying is on the increase. So, too, are the airports providing this courteous service. To the flying businessman, the airport courtesy car is important. It is the last link in his transportation investment. American business firms have more airplanes and do more flying than any other group in the world. Both civil type and military type airplanes have been converted into flying offices. These offices move over the country at speeds of from 150 to 300 miles an hour. More territory covered, far less travel time involved, and work goes on during the flight. They go when they wish and where they wish. They do business as usual in the comfort and privacy of the company-owned airplane. There are aircraft companies that specialize in designing executive airplanes. They are planned with an eye to comfort as well as efficiency, as carefully planned for privacy and livability as any home. They are designed to fit the needs of the owner, often with a living room area, built-in television, planters. Large picture windows are popular. Cabins and vestibules are soundproofed with sound-absorbing material. Tables and furnishings are specially designed. There is often an air-to-ground telephone. This company vice president flies at 12,000 feet elevation in a corporation-owned Martin B-26 conversion. He travels at 300 miles per hour in a soundproof, pressurized cabin capable of accommodating 16 people. Since many business flights are made at night, these airplanes are equipped for relaxation as well as work. Countless businessmen fly their own airplanes. The majority of airplane owners are over 40 years of age. Banker, salesman engineer, auto dealer, executive secretary, district distributor, sheep rancher, roller rink operator, machine builder, brace maker, broker, construction engineer, electrical contractor, plumber, doctor, combustion engineer, cattle buyer, retailer, builder, veterinary, salesman, repairman, lawyer, insurance agent. And then there are businessmen every day, turning their thoughts to the airplane and learning to fly. This man is a qualified flight instructor. His business is teaching people to fly. He is understanding and courteous. He has a sound knowledge of airplanes and what they can do. It costs less than $100 to learn to fly. less than 500 to become a qualified licensed pilot. There's no age limit on learning to fly. First, the student pilot becomes acquainted with the functional parts of the airplane. He learns to check the airplane and to recognize for himself if it is ready to fly. This simple procedure is line checking. A pilot line checks his aircraft every time he flies. The modern airplane is well designed. Structurally, it is light and flexible, very strong. All aircraft wings are fundamentally the same shape. This shape is the basic airfoil. The tail assembly is checked. Once the student is acquainted with the outside of the airplane, instruction inside begins. He sits in the pilot seat, the instructor on his right. His instructor shows him that the wheel works smoothly and accurately. When he knows how to use the brakes and start the airplane, he is taught to taxi the airplane on the ground. He is taught ground courtesies and how to watch for other aircraft. Taxiing develops control which is later used on takeoff and landing. The same day, they fly. They stop at the end of the runway, brakes are set, gas is checked. The throttle is opened, and the engine power is checked on each ignition system individually. The carburetor heat is checked by turning it on and off. The throttle is closed to the idling position. This is the engine check. Now the student sees that the airplane's controls move freely and easily. First, the aileron action. Then the wheel forward and back for the elevator. Rudder pedals in and out for the rudder fin. Line check, engine check, and control check are performed before every flight. The instructor releases the brakes, opens the throttle, and as the airplane takes off, dual instruction begins. With the rudder, the airplane is kept from turning. After it has gained speed, the elevator is brought up, and the airplane takes off. The airplane is equipped with dual controls, and the student can easily follow the movements of it. He is shown one simple maneuver at a time, and then is allowed to practice it. By this method, he learns to fly the airplane exactly where he wants it to go. With less than 5 hours of dual instruction, the average person will handle the airplane in a confident manner. Before a student is allowed to solo, he must be proficient at takeoff and landing. He is taught air courtesy and to fly a good pattern around the airport. He practices many spot landings. By the time he has had 10 hours of dual instruction, he can land and take off with confidence, without help or advice from his instructor. Before a student solos, he must know the basic civil air regulations governing air traffic. When the instructor is satisfied that his student knows the simple regulations and that he is capable of flying the airplane alone, he asks him to make 3 takeoffs and 3 landings. On his first solo flight, the student is required to put into use all that he has learned. He has been taught to watch for other aircraft. He has been taught to make a proper final approach. He knows how to keep the proper airspeed, control wheel forward for more airspeed and wheel back for less. As he approaches the runway, he slows down. And as the airplane touches the ground, the control wheel is all the way back. After 40 hours of mixed dual and solo flying, he passes the regulation flight check. He takes a written examination which assures that he understands the basic principles of map reading, weather, and flight. His instructor checks him out in other airplanes. Now, a qualified licensed pilot, the businessman is interested in finding the specific airplane that will meet his needs. His hours in the air while learning to fly and while taking his cross-country flight instruction, have been planned to do double duty. Each flight has been a business trip. His travel time has been cut 80%. He knows exactly how airplane ownership will benefit him. American aircraft designers and manufacturers are developing new airplanes. The Aero Car, both ground vehicle and airplane. The Hummingbird Channel Wing. "90% of all airplane owners pilot their own airplanes. They use executive types such as the Aero Commander. The 4 or 5 place 310 Cessna, manufactured in Wichita, Kansas. The 6 place Bonanza, also manufactured in Wichita. They use the popular 4 place Bonanza. The Piper Super Cub, a workhorse of the sky. The Call Air from Afton, Wyoming. Aeroncas. Stinsons. Air Coups. Bluscums. Navions. There are all kinds of airplanes. Their biggest single user is the businessman. The economics of time and travel have made them a vital part of America's life.
Know where the Liebenow family of Hollywood is going? Vacation. That wonderful American institution of going new places and doing new things. The vacation baggage is all packed and the family car is in tip-top shape, all checked and ready to go places. The Bonnells consider themselves experts on how to go places in the family car. Part of the job of being an expert is knowing how to get ready to go. Last vacation, this expert left the lawn sprinklers running. This expert forgot to leave a note for the milkman. So this year, the experts have a checklist. The checklist makes it easy to know what to take. Of course, it also makes it easy to know what not to take. With the family baggage all together, on display, anyone can do a good job of packing. A neat trick? When the things you'll want first are the last to be packed, they'll be easier to find. And here's a tip. One bag holding toilet articles, pajamas, and a change of light clothing for the entire family can save a lot of unpacking and repacking. Lee takes an expert's pride in keeping the passenger spaces clear and unobstructed. But even so, locking that door on the traffic side is a good safety precaution if you're traveling with children. There's a small cushion or two for sleepyheads, and to help stretch distances between stops, a jug of water, some cookies, and dried fruit for between meal snacks without mess and bother. Last item on the Bonnell's checklist, and a good idea for everyone, a spare key for the car safely tucked away in a magnetic container for emergencies. Yes, when it comes to getting ready to go, a real expert seems to think of everything.
Philip, are you sure you snapped the lock on the front door when you closed it?
Yes, sir, Dad. It's locked.
Uh-oh, I just remembered something. My purse.
Where is it?
It's on the dining room table.
Okay, give me the keys. I'll go get it.
I hate to tell you this, but that's where all the house keys are, in my purse.
Oh. The open road at last, ready to go places. Thanks to three small boys with hidden talent for burglary, only half an hour behind schedule. And who cares about schedules when they're vacation bound? Apparently, Pop does. But stepping on it is not the expert way to make up for lost time. The faster he goes, the fewer the miles on a tank full of gas. Much of the time he thinks he is saving by extra speed may actually be spent in extra refueling stops. Speed is expensive. For the average car, driving costs increase rapidly as driving speeds go up. So take it easy, Pop. That's right. You'll get there more economically, more safely, and probably just as soon if you drive at an efficient rate. Traveling at a steady, reasonable speed will let you cover more miles in a day, relaxed and comfortable. Experts make time by watching for ways to avoid business traffic in cities and towns. They plan their trips to avoid rush hour traffic at morning, noon, and evening in large cities on their route. Here's a time saver that works two ways. Whenever possible, combine all your requirements for service, such as gasoline, regular checks of oil, tires, and cooling system, in a single stop. Then you'll find you have plenty of time to get refreshment, exercise, and local information on highway conditions. Knowing how to get where you are going is one of the most important ways of saving time. But remember, it's so easy to get poor advice from people you just happen to meet along the road. Yep, down that way. Leastwise, he thinks so. Hey, wait, t'other way, t'other way. Oh, well.
I'm confused.
I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I'm sleepy.
And I'm positive that old coot told us this was the shortcut to the main highway.
There's something written on that sign up there. I'll get out and see what it says. No matter where you think you are, you are lost.
With a good map, highway navigation can be very simple. Next time you travel, try marking the route with two pencil lines enclosing the highway. The arrows call attention to important information. Some travelers use the map to make an ingenious guide list of route numbers and key mileages. For a long trip, the list is broken into sections, each covering a map or a section of a map. When the guide list is handy to the steering wheel, you can check off the route changes as you make them. Then you'll always know where you are and what to look for to keep you on the road. A knowledge of direction often helps you get where you are going. Did you know that you can use your watch as a compass if the sun is shining? Point the hour hand directly at the sun. Midway between the hour hand and 12 o'clock is approximately south. That's all there is to it. However, you'll find it pays to have a compass if you do a great deal of traveling in open country. When you're going places, knowing how to get ready to go and how to get where you're going are important. But knowing how to relax and have fun while you're going is most important of all. A good driver becomes steadily more alert and more efficient during the first 3 or 4 hours behind the wheel. After 4 hours of driving, his efficiency usually begins to drop unless he knows how to relax. The safest and most relaxed grip on the steering wheel is with the hands in what the experts call the 10-20 position. You'll cover more miles and arrive feeling more refreshed with your back straight and your head up than if you slouch behind the wheel. An occasional change in the position of the driver's seat also helps you stay comfortable and alert. Cross-country travel can be a rewarding experience for the whole family, but there are times when young passengers need something besides scenery to keep them happy and occupied. Here is a game that's fun for all. How far is it to that mountain ahead? Each member of the family guesses, and the closest guess scores a point. Many familiar parlor games become more enjoyable because they're played in a parlor on wheels. Spelling games and guessing games and license plate games inspired by the passing scene. On any cross-country vacation trip, the real expert is the one who takes the time to discover America. East or west, north or south, the awe-inspiring wonders of the Grand Canyon of the Colorado, the spectacular beauty of Zion National Monument, mighty Niagara, the sparkling waters of the Atlantic, the historic Southland. All these and 1,000 more within your easy reach. Isn't America wonderful? And our vacationers wonderful, too?
We're the boys. We've come hundreds of miles to see all of this. Why aren't they out here to enjoy it?
Oh, they're back in the car planning next summer's vacation. They're reading a book.
Reading a book?
Mm-hmm. I think the title is How to Go to the Moon.
Lazy days, warm and free, pathways to climb, rivers to see. Magic's here for you and me as we travel the roads to romance.
Sun and sand, sagebrush and tumbleweed, rolling mountains and giant cactus. This is the old Santa Cruz Trail, running from Santa Cruz in Old Mexico to Tucson. Here the Tumacacori National Monument stands, preserving the ruins of Tumacacori Mission. Another mission, San Javier del Bac, stands on a slight hill facing south across the Santa Cruz Valley. Work on this magnificent shrine was started in the early 1700s. Not far from busy Tucson, an exact replica of old Tucson has been built as a motion picture location.
Children of the Carrillo School in Tucson re-emphasize that the Santa Cruz Valley is the blending place of many cultures. This is a Mexican Christmas festival. When the pageantry of the festival is done, there is candy for all who scramble for it. You and your family can enjoy the vacation thrills of this spot, and no matter where you live, you can reach it quickly, comfortably, and with utmost economy. Travel this year the roads to romance, to places you have always wanted to go. And when you travel, go in one of the quality motor cars your Chevrolet dealer has to offer. It will be your magic carpet that will carry you to the land of your heart's desire.
You've heard of the golden horn of plenty, traditional symbol of prosperity and of good things bestowed upon mankind. Well, these are the wheels which carry the horn of plenty, wheels which take it to the places where the good things abound and bring it back full and overflowing. We take our American comforts and conveniences pretty much for granted. In our homes, we are surrounded by 20th century miracles. Miracles which are not exclusively American, but which are here so commonplace that they are seldom regarded as miracles anymore.
Dinner's ready. Come and get it.
Hey, that's for me. Let me at it. Gravy and lots of it.
Jimmy, wait till everyone's served.
Yes, Jimmy, we'll have some manners here if you don't mind.
Jimmy ain't got no manners. Jimmy hasn't any manners. All right, any manners.
Oh, Jimmy, we forgot your food prayer.
Yes, sir. Lord, we thank you for that food and thy loving care. Amen.
Yes, it's all pretty commonplace in America, isn't it? The comfortable homes we live in, the cars parked at the door, the bikes and mechanical gadgets of all kinds, schools where every child has a right to expect an education, satisfying recreation for everybody, leisure time in which to enjoy it. Americans, you are in luck. Of course, you've worked for it. You've made the land hum with the song of your toil. But people in other lands and in other times have worked too, worked hard to eke out a mere existence. Why have we been so remarkably successful at it? Why have we been able to make this land of ours so productive? Nature's been pretty lavish, of course. We've lived under a governmental system, the first on earth to make each man the captain of his soul. We've had enterprise, our great inheritance from ambitious and freedom-loving forebears. All these are parts of the American mural, parts of the reason for our golden horn of plenty. But look further. Why a car like this that a man of average means can afford to own? If every American had to build his own automobile with materials of his own gathering and with tools of his own contriving, there would be very few automobiles in the land. Where would an individual get the steel to mold into this beautiful-looking body? Where the vast presses to shape it? Where is the raw rubber to make these tires? The tough fabric to weave with it? These things are as widely scattered as the four winds, or they were until wheels brought them together. The magic of our modern horn of plenty is the magic of mobility, the magic of the greatest interchange of goods and of services which the world has ever known. Take the farm machinery which helps to make our soil the most productive on earth. This tractor contains quantities of steel which came from the iron ore of the Mesabi Range in northern Minnesota. That ore came hundreds of miles by rail and by boat to the mills along the fringes of the Great Lakes. It was refined with the use of coal and limestone and other elements which were brought great distances. Hundreds of types of raw materials and of semi-finished materials and fabricated parts have to be brought together into a single factory before such a complex mechanism as a tractor or a reaper or a threshing machine can be put together. Each great factory such as this makes use of countless carloads of materials during the course of a year, turns out thousands upon thousands of pieces of machinery which is sent to every corner of America and to the four corners of the world, for that matter, where farmers need it to till the soil efficiently. Machinery sent at a price which nearly every farmer can afford because it is manufactured by the American mass production method, the method which mass transportation made possible. The variety of raw materials which we make use of in our modern civilization is seemingly limitless, and the great quantities of them which have to be shipped over vast distances are almost beyond belief. Consider the billions upon billions of bushels of grain which are grown in America every year. Wheat, corn, rice, barley, oats, grains which are the staff of life. These billions of bushels have to be transported to elevators, stored until they are required by processing plants, shipped and reshipped until they have been made into flour and bread and breakfast food, and delivered to your hometown, your store, your pantry shelf. Livestock, millions of head marketed in an average year. Transported, many of them, several times before they reach their final destination, your dining room table. Transported to feeding areas, to stockyards, to processing plants, then as meat in refrigerator cars, to your butcher's cooler, and thence to you. Products of the forest, billions of board feet of lumber a year. Lumber brought to the mill as giant logs, sawed into all shapes and sizes, delivered to the thousands of factories which make products out of wood, set down in your front yard as building material, or in your living room as furniture. Countless products to enrich your living. Products of the mine, many of them seldom thought of by the average American in the gigantic quantities which are produced and consumed each year. Products like sulfur and salt, as well as steel and aluminum and lead and coal and copper. Products moving, always moving so that they may be put to your service. Oil, the black gold of our machine age. Oil to lubricate your car, to heat your home, to drive the wheels of industry. Oil to make gasoline and kerosene, synthetic rubber, useful products almost innumerable. Oil which must be transported before it can be of any use to most people. Things which are brought from distant lands across the sea, coffee and tea, tin and rubber, spices and silk. Things in never-ending succession which we bring in from the four corners of the earth. Things which we send abroad in exchange for the items we import. Cotton and grain, minerals, machinery, and fabricated items of every description. This great movement pattern, which is the foundation of our 20th century prosperity, is symbolized by the ingenious machines which man has created, especially here in America, to keep goods moving. The giants of the rails, the trucks for coordinated rail truck service, the huge ships and the vast facilities for interchange between one method of transport and another. One recent development makes possible the shipment of 100 or more loaded freight cars on a specially constructed boat called a sea train, This spectacular and useful device eliminates the necessity of loading and reloading from car to boat and back again at port cities. Entire freight cars are picked up by the giant machinery, stored on tracks within the hold of the ship until they are removed by similar machinery at their port of destination. Here, the cars are again placed on rails and speeded to their final unloading points. Another example of the American inventive mind and business enterprise working to provide America with the greatest transportation system in the world. The backbone of this transportation system is the railroad. The experience of a century during which mass transportation has helped to change the face of the nation has proven beyond a doubt that the great bulk of the nation's goods can be moved more efficiently, more swiftly, more dependably on rails than it can by any other system of transport ever devised. The significance of railroads will increase in the years ahead. American business is growing by leaps and bounds. Railroads are almost the only form of mass transportation which can offer an important reserve of hauling capacity to meet the growing demands of American industry and commerce. Railroads have been building for the future. During the past few years, billions of dollars have been spent on America's rail lines. The Rock Island lines have been in the forefront of this building program. During the past decade, this railroad has rebuilt and modernized plant and structure more thoroughly than most of the nation's major lines. This program of planned progress has placed the Rock Island in position to give a service to shippers and travelers which is unsurpassed. Rock Island occupies a strategic position on the railroad map of the nation. Its lines serve 14 of the most productive and diversified states in the Union. 8,000 miles of modern steel rails are in its network. This is a fabulous empire, this Rock Island wonderland, which stretches westward from Chicago, St. Louis, and Memphis to the mountains of the west and through its friendly connections onto the Pacific coast. It reaches from the twin cities of the North Star State to the Gulf ports of Houston, Texas City, and Galveston of the Lone Star State. It is an empire dotted with great and growing cities where much of the nation's business is done. It is an empire of prairie vastnesses and of broad, rich valleys where growing things abound. It is an empire of progress and opportunity unsurpassed. Since 1852, the Rock Island has been helping industry to grow and expand in this area. There are still hundreds and hundreds of available industrial sites which offer the finest advantages of good transportation, adequate power supply, and skilled labor. Throughout that empire, the Rock Island now operates one of the finest railroads in the world. Heavy steel rail, superbly laid and ballasted, makes it a truly velvet highway. But it is a tough highway, too, able to take the punishing weight of thousands of tons of freight speeding along at mile-a-minute clip. Modern bridges have been built to handle these tremendous loads. Spectacular in Rock Island's bridge program is this great structure over the Cimarron in western Kansas. Its building was one of the outstanding feats of railroading. Its construction, together with track relocation, grade elimination, and curve reduction, aided greatly in speeding up transcontinental freight and passenger schedules, thus making Rock Island the preferred route between east and west. All Rock Island main lines are genuine speedways. Curves and grades have been reduced to a minimum. Over these superhighways of steel, rocket freights and rocket passenger trains travel with speed, with safety, with dependability far in excess of anything mass transportation knew a few short years ago. Improvements in motive power, of course, have been spectacular. The modern diesel-electric locomotive, adopted by the Rock Island shortly after its first introduction, has all but replaced the old iron horse. Along with improved steam locomotives, which still have their place on modern railroads, diesels give the Rock Island a capacity to move tremendous quantities of the nation's goods with a dispatch which is truly revolutionary. A vast fleet of new and of continually reconditioned freight cars of all types is part of the equipment reservoir of the modern Rock Island. The most modern devices for traffic control ensure the swift, safe, and dependable movement of Rock Island trains. On the busiest sections of the line, centralized traffic control is in operation. This system eliminates countless delays in the dispatching of trains, enabling one man to see at a glance and to control the movement of all trains in his control area. A movement of a hand, and he has thrown electrically a switch which may be many miles distant from him. This enables a train to take another track without delay. Centralized traffic control actually makes one track do the work of two tracks the work of four. It assures a continuous maximum flow of traffic in either direction with the utmost of safety. Classification yards, which are miracles of automatic operation, are another Rock Island development designed to accelerate the speed with which freight is handled. Whole cuts of cars like this move over the hump and are sorted in a matter of minutes so that they may be made up into trains for various destinations. In these yards, the cars move entirely by force of gravity. Their movement is controlled by skilled towermen whose control boards move distant switches. They also actuate pneumatic retarders to regulate the speed of the cars. So perfect is the control which each operator has over the cars in his section of the yard that they move with velvet smoothness to their appointed positions and take their place in the string with never a bump or a jar. Classification yards like this save hours, sometimes days, in the movement of freight. Rock Island service standards have kept pace with the physical development of the railroad. Rocket freight is handled with the utmost dispatch from the moment the railroad receives it until it reaches its final destination. In the handling of package freight or in the loading and unloading of whole cars, the emphasis is increasingly on mechanical methods, on ways which will save time, save cost for the shipper. Mobility is the most vital ingredient in America's system of mass production. American railroads, like the planned progress, Rock Island, are making it possible for us to expand the horizons of American business and to bring the good things of life to more and more people. The Golden Horn of Plenty moves on wheels and rails, on Rock Island's wheels of progress. This emblem stands for progress, and wherever you see it, whenever you see it, you see a badge of service to shippers everywhere.